Yes, so we're looking at the evolution of digital media. Basically, what is meant by the word evolution? Anybody can tell me?
Change over time.
The change. Okay, anything else?
Like change over time
Mm-hmm.
through eras, periods of time, and so on.
Good. So we're gonna work with that. How something changed over time. So that's what we're looking at in this objective here, the evolution of digital media. How has digital media evolved over the years from the very first media to what we are using today? How has it evolved over the years? That's what we're going to be looking at today. So what we need to look at is, what is the history of media? Not just digital media, media in general. Media meaning just the word media, meaning the method of conveying information, the method of conveying a message. How has it evolved? What was its starting point? What would you guys say? What would you say is the first method of communication? I'm talking about speaking. I'm talking about like communicating to somebody at a distance. What would you say are some of those first methods? Can you think of any? Other than, let me give you some hints. Other than telephone, cell phone, email, that's what we are using today to communicate. Cell phone, email, text messages, and so on. Before that, years ago in the 1800s, 1900s, all the way back to the 1000s, what do you think persons used to use to communicate?
Smoke signals.
Smoke signals, good.
Carvings on rocks.
Good. Carvings on rocks, very good. So for media, we had other media, or you can say analog media. We had smoke signals, carvings. What else? What else can you think of?
Sorry, would the letters work?
Letters, we can put it, because it's kind of going out of date, but it's still in use today. What else?
Or drums.
Drums, good. Good.
Bells.
Bells, good. So you guys have some ideas. Ever heard of the telegraph? Anybody ever heard of the telegraph?
Yes, sir.
All right. So those were some methods. I want to show a video, but I'm not quite sure how well it's gonna play. Let me see if I can find it first. Where are my albums? Dashboard. Give me a second. I'm looking for a video that I want you guys to watch. Where is it? Digital media. I need to open the album. Okay. looking for what? A brief history of media. A brief history of media. Alright, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna play the video for like 15 seconds and tell me if you can hear it properly or if you want me to send you the link and you watch it yourself.
So I'm going to go a little academic on you, forgive me. We're in a university. Journalists, and tech folks don't look back very much. They look either at the present or ahead. So I'm going to break that cycle and go back a little in time.
Can we work with this or you're not following?
Yes, sir, I can hear.
Alright.
Yeah, we can work with it.
Alright. Just let me know if you want me to go back at any part. What you can do also, please make some notes as to, they're going to mention some equipments, some tools, some different forms of medias that were used in the past. So similar to the lists that we were creating here. So make your own list of the tools that they are going to mention. That he is going to mention.
Talk about the history of media. I think using a software framework of version numbers that maybe 0.1 is the cave-dwelling paintings, long time ago, 15,000 years. Maybe the papyrus, the printing on something like paper, creating something like later on books is a sort of 0.5, 0.5, I don't know, close enough for me. The next big change is actually...
So what basically he's explaining here is that he's given like a rough idea. It's not accurate, it's just his idea. He's just giving a rough idea as to what were the different forms of media we had over the years. So he's just giving them rough version numbers. So he's basically saying that the cave drawings, what Shanti would have mentioned, that was one form of communication. Persons would have drawn on the wall, and he's considering that as point one, basically like one of the very first method of communication. Then we went on to papyrus. Anybody know what papyrus is? No? Papyrus, I can't quite remember, but I think papyrus was some kind of like leaf kind of material that yeah, it's plant-based. So papyrus, from which we get the modern word paper, is a written material made from papyrus plant, a reed which grows in the marshy areas around the Nile River. So somehow they took this plant and they made it into like a paper kind of format, allowing them to write on it. It wasn't paper though. So they started using the papyrus.
The printing on something like paper, creating something like later on books, is a sort of 0.5, 0.5, I don't know, close enough for me. The next big change is actual books. And in this case, this is the scribes, the priests who are creating books by copying the Bible into new books. Pretty familiar form, though it was being done by hand.
So from the papyrus, they would have basically realized, persons in the past, that they can start making pages. So, and then when they start making pages, we know that they would have rolled up those pages into scrolls. So now, instead of having scrolls, they would have now combined them into sheets of paper, thus having books. But those papyrus, those papers, they would have all been handwritten. when persons wanted to um, copy a letter, you would actually have to get somebody to write that letter for you. So it was difficult back then to communicate, because if you did not know how to write, it would have been difficult for you to communicate in that method of you writing a letter on a piece of paper or papyrus. But we moved on from writing in order to copy notes, in order to copy words from one page to the next. We moved on to the printing press. The printing press is basically printeries that we have today. They allow us to print books. We don't have to write anymore, so we can print a lot of copies of books in order to communicate that message.
Changed pretty dramatically right after that with Gutenberg and his printing press. Also the Bible, that's Mr. Gutenberg there in the center of that picture, and that was liberating the Word of God from the control of the priests. Fairly significant event. Maybe the political pamphlets of the revolutionary times are at kind of 1.1. Another persuasive use of printing to convince people of something. It was politics this time causing revolutions. The telegraph wasn't media precisely, but an amazing tool, and it was media in the sense that it was something transmitted over a long distance really fast, no longer the speed of a horse, but of the speed of light.
Good. So two media that was just mentioned, that was the pamphlets, which is basically all the forms of flyers, you can say, the older names of flyers, all the forms of flyers, previous to flyers that we have today. And then the telegraph, what I was telling you guys about. Let me see if we can get another image. So the telegraph used Morse code. So this is the equipment here. That's why he said that the telegraph wasn't really media, but it was a method of transmitting or communicating. It was a method of transmitting this information. So that's why we consider it media. So this person here, she would be called the operator. And when she has a message, she would, using Morse code, use the same lever that you see in here. I think you guys would have seen this in movies, right? Them operating something like this. Ever saw one this in a movie?
Yes, sir.
Right. So she would have been clicking this multiple times to transmit that message in Morse code, and a person at the other end, well, obviously a cable has to be run into that other person, and that signal would be transmitted along that line, and the other person would receive that signal, and thus they got long distance communication. So you can compare that to the pamphlet and to books. Which one would you say has a much faster method of communication? The telegraph or a book? Which would communicate the message much faster?
Sir, telegraph.
The telegraph, right? But once that equipment is set up and in the two positions, the message could have been transmitted much faster. So let me get one of them to send this criteria. There's a list of criterias that when you're comparing media, there's a list of criterias you should look at. Let me see if we can get it from, because I gave the in-class students it. And one of you. Yeah. So basically there's some criterias that you should look at. Like, you should look at what is the distance compared between the two. For example, a book compared to telegraph, which would cover more distance, which would have more speed of transmission, which would transmit the message faster, which would be easier to use. All the different criterias. When they send the list, you're gonna see the rest, but that's all I can remember for now. So basically, what you're trying to understand right now is that we have to build an appreciation basically for the digital media we have today, because how we communicate is a lot more faster, is a lot more efficient, is a lot more productive than what persons used to use in the past. Today we can do a lot of things and much faster. So, but in order for you to understand that now, because people use the internet, they use WhatsApp, they use Facebook, but they don't realize how better it is compared to the past, because they don't compare it. They don't know what we used to have. When persons who now start using these services, they complain how WhatsApp quality is low. You can't do this on YouTube, you can't do that on Facebook. They always complaining about something, but they don't have that appreciation, they don't have that realization that it's so much better than what we used to have. But yes, it can be better, but one day it will be better, but it's just that at this point in time, it's not ready to be at that stage. So, comparing the telegraph to, for example, a book, for example, a cave drawing, you would look at things like which would transmit more information, which would transmit the information faster, which would be much more easier for the persons to use. Yes, the telegraph can transmit the information faster than a book, but when you think about it, a book is much more easier for a person to read. It's a much more easier method for a person to access information, because with a telegraph, a person has to go and learn Morse code, and then you have to be at this equipment all the time, and it's only a one-time listening, because you listen to the Morse code and that's it. You can't play it back or anything unless there is something recording it. But with a book, that message is there all the time. That message is in that book, so you can read it over and over and over and over how many times you want. And the book can actually reach a farther distance than telegram, because the telegram would only go so far depending on how the equipment is set up. So let me see if I can telegraph in structure. Yeah, so the companies or the businesses or whoever would have set up this telegraph, think of it just like how GT&T has landline cables running all over Georgetown, but then certain parts of Guyana does not have access to a landline. So similarly, not everywhere would have had access to a telegraph. So coverage would have been an issue with the telegraph. You have to go to that special location. You have to go to this person here, this operator, in order to transmit or receive a particular message. So those are some aspects we look at when we're comparing, contrasting, and so on. Are you guys following?
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Alright, so let's continue.
Yes, no longer the speed of a horse, but of the speed of light. The newspaper, magazine, book of the late 19th, early 20th century, kind of the pinnacle, I think, of the print era. I don't mean to compare the Times with the Titanic, forgive me, John. But this is a major thing, but not as major as broadcast. The radio comes along, right? And all of a sudden, one to many, at the speed of light, over long distances with people scaring us like Orson Welles or calming us like FDR. The TV in the mid-20th century. Clearly another major change, not as big as what we've had, but the events like the debates and then the moon landing watched by a majority of people on the planet who were in places where they could. This is sort of the pinnacle of broadcast, although I kind of hate to say that. The biggest difference, of course, in this is that instead of 3 channels, there's 300 to 500 on your average set. And now here we are. Packet switching, ones and zeros, speed of light, one to many, many to many, dramatic like the book and like the broadcast era in change. But remember the legacy model of what we did in the 20th century, which was the production of media, and then it was a manufacturing process. You manufactured it, then you put it in trucks or sent it out over the airwaves. Not what we do now. Now we create stuff, we put it online, and other people come and get it. That's totally different than what we did in the past. We should really understand how different that is, because it helps us create a whole new ecosystem. And this is the beginnings of a news ecosystem. This is not even close to where we are, but it's a start, and that's why I'm so excited, because it's going to be diverse in ways it was never diverse in the past. The possibilities when the consumers morph into not just creators but collaborators with things like Wikipedia and the things we do with these collaborative tools is immense. And we haven't even begun to figure that out, where it's going. But some of the things that are coming, this is one of my favorites. This is adding not just collaboration, but sensor data, human and machine sensors, in this case to look at the radiation around Fukushima. So I'm kind of worried about 4.0, about the taking back of control into a few hands. I don't think this scenario is the most likely one, but it's a possibility, and it scares me. I worry this is closer, because this is how Hollywood, the cartel, the copyright cartel, and the government, they kind of like the internet to work this way if they could do it. And that scares the crap out of me, and it should scare the crap out of you. And we have a job. We have to reassert in our future history that this is ours. It's not theirs. We're going to innovate at the edge, and we're going to save it, I hope, for ourselves. Thank you.
All right, so he mentioned some other forms of media. Can you guys tell me what else we're missing from here? Telegraph, books.
Pamphlets.
How does one spell pamphlets? No.
You take out H.
How does
At H after the M.
pamphlets? Oh, pamphlets. I know it had an H somewhere. Pamphlets. Yeah. What else? He mentioned the internet, broadcasting. What else? Y'all didn't write down anything?
Television, papyrus, printing.
Papyrus, printing.
Newspaper, magazines,
Good.
books.
Good. So, telephone. So those are some examples of media. How we would have transmitted information, how we would have communicated a message. Now today, we're using the internet for almost everything. If you realize, we no longer depend upon letters, we more use emails. Letters are still in use, yes, but it's more of a professional method of communication. It's more for businesses to make use of now. We have television, but it's no longer those big back television It's no longer well, in Guyana we still have analog channels, but the first world countries, those countries, they're moving towards digital television, whereby you're getting the television over the internet. You no longer have to depend upon lower quality television. You're now getting high definition television. That's actually one of the terms we learned about, high definition television. So almost everything makes use of the internet. But with that, we have an issue. What was that issue he mentioned last? Anybody notice? He mentioned the issue at last.
He was afraid of Media 4.0.
And what was that? What was he saying about it?
I can't remember.
So
Was it that he was afraid the government uses it as a tool to keep track of everyone?
right. So do you know that when you're using a service, remember all of these services are on the internet now. Companies are the one hosting these services. Do you guys know that all of these companies, they have your data once you're using this service? Do you guys know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Facebook has all of your data, TikTok has all of your data, and the data we're talking about is your search history, the pictures that you take out and post on that platform, the videos that you post. Um, you know, on TikTok right now, there's invisible filter going around, that trend.
No, I don't have TikTok.
Oh, that's sad. Well, on TikTok, there's a invisible filter that basically it takes you and turn you invisible. And what persons are basically doing? Well, you know that filters, you can't really remove a filter. Once that filter is placed there, there is some tools that you can use. Some persons say that, but I never investigated it because I don't want to know. But some persons say that these filters cannot be removed. But there's a filter going around that's in use right now. It's called the invisible filter, and it makes a person invisible. And I'm sure you can see where this is going. So females are going on the app, and they're basically posting, dancing, and using that invisible filter. Now, the issue there is that yes, the world is not seeing you, you're invisible, but they're basically saying that when this video gets uploaded to TikTok, that they can actually see the original. Because remember, the filter is actually an overlay over this original video. So it may be a possibility, it may not be a possibility, but that there is an issue that everyone has to face. That when you're using these internet-based services, the companies can misuse your data. They can take it, use it as their own, use it for whatever purpose they want, because you would not be able to know if they're actually doing it. Now, even the government also does this. In China, do you guys know there's a lot of regulations and rules as to how you can use the internet?
Yep.
Yeah, there's certain things you cannot do in China, and the reason why is because the government is constantly watching what everyone is doing. Everything you do on the internet, the government is watching you over there. So,
You can't use certain apps neither.
right, you cannot use in certain apps. You can only use the applications that would have been created in that country. Like for instance, you cannot use WhatsApp, they have to use WeChat, and WeChat was created by them. So that's the issue we're facing, that we're using all these online services. Yes, it's better, it's faster, it's more efficient, but the persons who are overseeing them, they have the capability of misusing our data. The government does it, the companies do it, and what can we do about it? Sometimes nothing. All we can do about it is like Shantae, not have TikTok at all, and not post anything and not do anything with the internet. And that's why some persons are actually so afraid of the internet, and some persons don't have any social media because of those same reasons. They enter a paranoid mode, assuming everything and so on. Shanti, are you one of those persons?
No, TikTok is just a distraction. It's only when school around it don't know about.
Okay. So that's the issue we're having. Did you guys hear a while back? Facebook had that issue about misusing data. There was a whole big issue where Facebook, they were sharing all of their users' data with another company. I can't remember the company name. Something Analytica. And they were sharing all of their information with that company for some particular reason. So they were saying it was for research purposes or something like that. But remember, it's your personal information. You should have the right to see what they're doing with it. And some companies do say they are protecting it. They are keeping it safe. Even Apple promotes that they are a secure platform, that they are not they try to keep their information private. Everything is secure for them. But I think a while back there was also a news about them either sharing their users' information, or they got hacked and somebody took their users' information, something of that sort. So that's the issue we have today with digital media, the misuse of our data. Now, so we have a clear understanding there of, not a clear understanding, but we have an idea as to how media evolved over the years into what we have today, digital media. Now, I have a lot of additional notes. I have a lot of additional content. It's roughly 3 gig. So if sometime next week you bring a flash drive, you can collect all of it, so that all of the videos and all the additional notes, they're inside here also. So including that video I just showed you. So if you want them, you should want them, you can bring a flash drive and let me show them, give them to you. Now there's another video in the history, we're gonna watch that also. It mentions some other equipments, some other tools, other forms of media. So you guys are gonna write down those tools also, those forms of media that were used. It's kind of like the first video.
Early man, our prehistoric relatives and forefathers. Quick to run, less quick to communicate. In fact, it took several million years before we realized it might be better to organize communication into a system.
You guys hear it properly?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Historic relatives and forefathers. Quick to run, less quick to communicate. In fact, it took several million years before we realized it might be better to organize communication into a system. In some of its earliest forms, humans communicated through pictograms, like the stories on the walls of the pyramids. But pictograms were limited, so the ancient Greeks invented the first extensive alphabet. Over the next several hundreds of years, communication was limited to handwritten materials, which were largely religious in subject. That changed in 1448 when a German named Johann Gutenberg invented the printing press. His invention combined ink, paper, and movable type with the goal of creating standardized reproducible writing. Apropos for the times, Johann printed a ton of Bibles. Spin the wheel of history to the 1700s and meet the Gutenberg press's faster, more dashing brother, the typewriter. Historians count 50 or more prototypes that existed before William Austin Burt patented an early version in 1829. Also in the 1800s, an American named Samuel Morse transitioned from painter to inventor when his wife died, but he didn't hear of her death until days later. Now, keenly aware that the speed of communication wasn't up to snuff, Morse created the telegraph and Morse code. In the 1870s, two inventors, Alexander Graham Bell and Elisha Gray, battled to create and subsequently fight over the invention of the telephone. Bell was proclaimed the winner, despite Gray likely beating Bell to the patent office. Less than 50 years later, another feud erupted, this time between Nikola Tesla and Guglielmo Marconi over the invention of radio. It was also a race to the patent office that ended in Marconi being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize and Tesla being awarded an eponymous 80s band. Now that sound could be transmitted wirelessly, we did the same with visual images. The 1950s marked the television boom, leading to a black and white TV signal broadcast into living rooms everywhere. Not to be left out, telephones took a page from the ancient Greek scroll and made considerable strides in speed and efficiency, with the development of fiber optic cable by Corning in the 1960s and the birth of a rather full-figured cell phone in the 1980s. Thousands of vacuum tubes later, communication focused on the computer and microprocessors that used Dow Corning silicon in computer chips. And by the early 1980s, personal computers were sold to the public. But of course, where would modern communication be if we neglected to mention the Internet? The Internet was first used by the US government until the 1990s, when Internet browsing went commercial, marking the tipping point for email and in-the-shower-away messages. But never one to be tethered to the past or to a desk, we took web browsing from desktops to mobile devices and tablets with the advent of 3G and 4G technology, allowing us to communicate at light speed from anywhere on the globe and forever altering how we perceive our role in the world. Are you ready for the next innovation? Learn more about how our work is shaping the way we communicate at dow.com/solutionism.
Great. So did you guys get any of those equipments that they mentioned?
Sir, can you go that over?
What were some of the forms of media they mentioned?
Typewriter.
Good.
They stated back the television
Mm-hmm.
and the telegraph. Those are the only ones I remember.
Okay. That means Shanti ain't writing at me.
Sir, you also mentioned the fiber optic cable that was created, then cell phones, computers, internet,
Good.
and maybe pictograms and so on.
Right. So you mentioned the pictogram, printing press, typewriter, radio, fiber optic cable, cell phone, computer, tablets, 3G and 4G internet. So these are just some of the different forms of media that we had, and they have the same issue there basically. So that there is the history and the timeline. So we just covered the first part of our objective, the history and timeline of digital media. So how we transitioned from analog to digital media. So that first point there clear to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so the next topic is Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and 3.0. Have you guys ever heard these terms?
Web 2.0, yes.
Was that from IT?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're gonna watch another video, and I want you to write down what is Web 1.0, what is Web 2.0, and what is Web 3.0.
You know, on the web, just like any other industry, we like our special terms, and you've probably come across, or you may have come across, the Web 1, Web 2, and now Web 3, and where are we going with all of this? Well, that's what I want to try and explain now, so that when you get caught up in those conversations, you've got a basic understanding, and you're not just going to have the smokes and mirrors and the blinded by science bit that some of these techies want to do. Okay, so it's very, very simple. Web 1. So when the web started, it was about sharing information. So we're going to show an example now on screen of a website that looks really, really great, but of course it's Web 1. It's about sharing information. Okay, well, what about Web 2? What happened? So Web 2 moves it on a level and says this now is about interaction. So I'm going to share my information, but I want people to interact with it. And we can see on this particular website that we've got areas where people can make comments on a blog, or they can get involved and win stuff on a competition, pick fruit from a tree. You know, you've got to work out something that works with your brand, but Web 2 is all about interaction. So think about social media when you think Web 2, because social media really is very Web 2. Okay, so Web 1 is all about sharing information. Web 2 is all about getting some interaction. So what's this Web 3? Well, Web 3 in essence is about the computer doing smart stuff. So now have a look at this website, Amazon.com. Okay, so on Amazon.com, what we're seeing here is that the computer, the server running the website, is actually choosing recommendations for me. So it's not me necessarily interacting with it, although of course I have to, but it's the web server interacting with me. It's not just sharing information about everything that Amazon has got to offer, it's choosing things intelligently on my behalf. So it's making recommendations for me. So that is Web 3. Now, because of the timing, you'll hear things in Web 3 about mobile as well, and mobile apps, and we're talking about mobiles a lot because it is important, but those are the sort of advancements we've seen. So if you want to simplify it, and I suggest that you do, think of it as quite simply this. Web 1, it's about sharing information. It's one way. Okay. Web 2, this is about interaction, so it's two-way. Web 3, this is about the interaction, but the server, the web server, also being pretty smart. So imagine now this is three-way.
Good. So, who would like to start us off and tell us what is Web 1.0?
Sir, Web 1.0 is like all about sharing information. So it goes one way alone, right? So it's just there. The information is just there. You can't really do anything with it. Like the others, it's just there. You're just sharing stuff.
Very good. So that is exactly it.
That'd be like an advertisement.
Yes, you can say like an advertisement. So when the internet was first created, when that was first created, the purpose they wanted out of the internet was to communicate a message, to share information. The interest wasn't really to ask persons anything or get persons' opinion. It was to share your information. That's what they wanted to do. So when they created the internet, and the internet was actually, you guys are supposed to know how the internet first created. Who first started the internet? Y'all can't tell me y'all doing IT and not know who started the internet. Y'all don't know? Y'all never did this?
Don't remember.
Oh, that. So the government, the U.S. government, they would have started the internet. Do you know? Do you remember that? The U.S. government started it, or you didn't learn that?
Yeah, yeah, we remember now.
And
Yeah.
what did they name that internet connection? Do you remember that? Starts with A. AR. ARP.
ARPANET or something like that.
ARPANET. So the government created the internet, and it was basically to communicate among government agencies and so on. But then, obviously, they realized the potential, so it started expanding, and it expanded to the point where the commoners, the normal everyday persons, they could have made use of the internet. So when those persons use the internet, it was just to showcase information, just to show what they wanted. So some piece of information. So that communication was one way. You shared information, and there was no way to interact with the person who would have shared it. So now, what is Web 2.0? Shanti?
Where you can interact, like social media. You got people posting different stuff and commenting and having discussions.
Mm-hmm. Commenting, having discussions, liking, thumbs up, tweeting, and all those things, right?
And yeah.
So you're basically interacting with the website. So a perfect example is social media. You post a comment, you post a status, you post something, you post some sort of message, a blog, something, and persons can now interact with it. They can say whether they like it, whether they dislike it, they can share it, they can tell you that something about it. They can have interaction. So now you both of you can now interact with each other. Now, so that's Web 2.0. What is Web 3.0?
Sir, it's a three-way where the computer is interacting with you, with the users, instead of you interacting with it. Like the example that was given was the Amazon website. If you click on a product, the computer or the server rather will recommend other similar products to you. So it's a computer interacting with you, or the server rather.
So I noticed you mentioned something that we don't need to interact with the computer. Are you sure about that?
Isn't it? That's what I learned from what he said. So
If you just mention it's three-way,
yeah. Uh-huh.
so think about it. If one way,
Oh, okay.
and then you have two-way, and then you have three-way. See where we're headed?
Yeah.
I don't think you're seeing anything. So, Web 1.0, it's one way, meaning it's information heading in one direction, from the creator to the consumer. Two-way, meaning data is going in both directions. It's going from the creator to consumer, and the consumer can send back information to the creator, which would be the website. Now, three-way is an addition to that two-way. It keeps building upon each other. The creator of the website, they're going to post something. Like, for example, Amazon. They're going to post up all of their items and say that how they're selling shoes, they're selling pencils, book rulers, all of these things. Now, you are going to go and use that website. You are going to go and search for something on this website. You are going to go and look for a particular item. Now, if it was a Web 2.0 website, alright, let's not talk about that. How is it going to be a Web 3.0 website? Is that the next time, or even the same time, while you're searching for that item, what the website does is shows you similar items. And even if in some cases, like if you type in a shoe, it's going to show you different types of shoes. But in addition to different types of shoes, it might show you different products that go along with shoes, like maybe a shoe cleaner, or maybe some variation to laces for the shoe, some sort of item that would complement the shoe or work with the shoe. So that website now is basically interacting with the user. It's using software, artificial intelligence, to learn what is your interest. You're constantly on Amazon typing in shoes, makeup, bags, all of these things. And now, every time you go on the website, that's where you're going to see on the home page. That's where you're going to see first thing that a shoe is going to appear, a bag is going to appear, some sort of makeup is going to appear. That there is the website now interacting with you. Following on that?
Yeah.
Good. So that's what's meant by Web 3.0. So you still got to interact with the website. You still have to tell the website what you're interested in, so that it knows how to interact with you. So what other website does that? Can you think of any other website that would do that? Interact back with the user. You use one every day.
So the only thing coming to mind is Pinterest. That's like the only two.
Yeah, Pinterest. So when you go and search for something on Pinterest, and it's gonna show you similar items to what you would have searched, right? They're gonna show you similar items to what you're interested in. That there is a website interacting with you. What else?
Could music platforms be one? When you play music, they recommend similar songs or genres?
Good. So what's the most popular one we use today?
Spotify, Apple Music,
And YouTube, right?
YouTube, yeah.
We see it a lot on YouTube. We're on YouTube, we look for a particular video, and next time we're on YouTube, we see similar videos on the home page. That there is a website interacting with us. So that there is Web 1.0, 2.0, and Web 3.0. Are you guys clear on that?
Would advanced search be one? Like if you're on a website and you're looking up for different mangas or anime and you type in specific criteria you're looking for?
It's not so much the search option, it's more of what the website is giving you when you search for something. It's more of the results. It's not more so of the search.
As a whole?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more of, it's like, remember it's three-way. So three-way in that so this is you, and this is the website. So the website is going to post some content. Like for example, a manga is going to post a manga. Now, you're going to go on this website, on the home page, you're going to see some mangas there. But then you're going to type back to the website, so you're going to search for something on that website. You're going to search for a specific genre of manga and so on. Now, that there is Web 2.0. So this one here is 1.0. This one here is 2.0. 3.0 now is when that website now, every time you go on the website, it shows you adventure manga on the home page all the time, or it shows you slice of life manga. That is Web 3.0. So until like over time, it realizes that you're no longer interested in adventure, you start reading a different type of genre, it's going to start modeling the information to suit that now. So now you're going to start seeing adventure less and less, and you can start seeing the different types of genre that you're looking for. You ever notice that? Like for instance, when you're on YouTube, you would see a specific group of music videos. You would always see this specific group of music videos always showing up in this order. When you play one, the next one is always these similar music playing together. But if you change the type of music to a different genre, you would notice that music for that particular genre starts to appear. You ever notice that? Or y'all?
Yes, sir.
Oh. So that happens to me. When I'm listening to a particular music, I would see this particular list of songs would appear. And when I switch to a different type of song, then I would hear something totally differently. Like for instance, if I type in Imagine Dragons, I would start hearing those kind of pop, rock kind of songs. But then if I start typing NF, I would hear his kinds of songs, and then they might shift over to NSC songs and so on. So it tries to 3.0 tries to understand what you're doing. It tries to understand what is your interest, and tries to give you content based on that. That's the purpose of 3.2. Oh, I can actually do that. Yeah. Alright, so you guys should be clear on 3.0. Any questions on it?
Nope.
Alright. So now we are going to look at alright, so if you look at your book, your study guide, you can see page 4. And it says that the first activity there, activity 2.1, it says to collect some images. Well, watching those videos, you saw some images there, so we're not going to do that one. And it says to list a table of 3 characteristics of Web 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. So, let's see. What you're gonna do, one of you search for characteristics of Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Search for a Google image, and you're gonna see them listing characteristics of them. So save that image and send it in the WhatsApp group. So you're searching for characteristics of Web 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. You can search for them individually. So Rima, you can take 1.0, Shanta, you can take 2.0. And whoever finishes first can do 3.0. Send that in the group. Y'all not finding anything? Right. Okay, good. So you got for all three. So yeah, so key features of Web 1.0 is that it's static. So static meaning it does not change. Same content for all users. The content is owned by the creator of the website. Um, Websites were created only to display information. Web 2.0 is dynamic, meaning that it changes. The content customized as per users' need. Is interactive, help people connect with other people. Also include video streaming services. And then Web 3.0, there is no ownership of content. Anyone can contribute. Utilizes machine learning and artificial intelligence. Content can be accessed by multiple applications. So those are the key characteristics there of Web 1.0, 3.0, and 2.0. So we take this one here, and that here. Good. So good. So that's it for Web 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Next, we're going to move on to some terms used in evolution of digital media. Arima, can you read that for us?
Terms. So emergence of broadband started just around the early 2000s to facilitate the passing of high-speed information, data, voice, and video through a single channel or medium.
So you guys clear on that, right? We know what is broadband, right? Because we already covered that. Right?
Yes, sir.
Alright, next term. Shanti.
Mobile devices, these have enabled us to walk with our social life in the palms of our hands. These have become smaller and more portable and now work similarly to a computer.
Good. So we have the term mobile devices. How would you differentiate a device from being either just a device or being a mobile device? How would you differentiate it? Like, for instance, would you call a laptop a mobile device? Would you call a monitor a mobile device? Would you call a projector a mobile device? What differentiates it from each other? What would make
I
one?
think the
Go ahead.
yeah, like you can carry it with you at any time,
hmm
like that.
But can't you carry a projector with you at any time?
At your convenience? No, that's so heavy and take up a lot of space and all that.
So you gotta be small to be portable, to be mobile.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it has to be small. Anything else? There is actually a key factor that would make a device portable.
It can work on its own, like it doesn't need any to plug into anywhere.
Good. So that device has small and portable device. It works. Remote computer has a battery. So that would differentiate these devices. A device that basically has a battery is considered a mobile device. So even though the projector, yes, you can walk around with it, it's not really a mobile device because you cannot use it without plugging it into an outlet. So your phone, your tablet, your smartwatch, your laptop, even your laptop, we call that a mobile device. Why? Because we can use them on the go, basically, with no need to be connected to power, unless the battery dies. Next, we have social media, Arima.
Sir, please excuse the background noise. Social media. Using applications on the internet or phone to exchange information between persons and allow for interaction with persons using friends. I'm so sorry. Y'all not hearing the passing? No, y'all not hearing.
Yes,
Anyways,
we're heard.
example: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc.
Good. So we know what's a social media. It's basically a platform that allows the exchange of information between persons and allow for interaction. So you can go on Facebook, share your photos, images, messages, and so on, and then have those persons interact with you there. What is a smartphone, Shanti?
Smartphones, tablets, and other wireless devices integrating social data and data analysis and have many applications that can be downloaded and used.
So these are just some of the devices that we would use to access the various services of digital media. So let me remove that. Alright, Arima, you can read the next paragraph. That's on page 5.
Importantly to note that each of these terms above have impressive data analysis capabilities that allow one to monitor the amount of data sent, received, and security transmission, rate of transmission, message or communication status, etc. Again, each of these are used extensively into these digital devices and technologies applying to business, social, and domestic usage.
Arima, are you outside?
Sir, that's what I'm saying. I'm in my house and like Yeah, it's just a vehicle passing, and
I
yeah.
know, but like the vehicle's like so loud. I thought you were on the road.
Oh yeah, it's like the public road now, unfortunately.
No, I know you live next to the public road, but like it sounds like if you're right on the road, like standing on the
Oh,
road.
that's what I'm saying. Like the proximity and like I don't know, man. It's out overbearing. I fed up.
All right, so what did you- good. So in that paragraph that Rima just read, these devices they allow us to monitor how much data is sent, how much data is received, ensure our transmission is secure, um, ensure we have a good rate of transmission, um, that our messages, communication, that it is, we basically have a good connection and we can transfer those messages and make those communications successfully and so on. Now, so I'm not gonna add anything to it. Capabilities and development technology. All right, so activity 2.3. Um, how is broadband being used today? So how do you use broadband? That should be the question. You don't understand the question?
Wouldn't it be used in internet services?
So to access the internet. What else? Is it only for accessing the internet?
Would it also be for communication purposes?
Good. What else? It's how do you use broadband? What is broadband? Broadband is the internet. It's the internet technology that we're using. So how do you use the internet? That's the question. Y'all using it right now. What purpose are you using it for now?
Video conferencing.
For what?
I was just gonna say video conferencing.
Good, for video conferencing. What else?
Would it be like for uploading and downloading stuff?
Transfer of data, for having classes. Y'all don't use the internet for anything else?
E-commerce?
E-commerce. Entertainment. Don't you use the internet for entertainment? Don't you?
And research, yes.
Good.
And research.
Education. Look how much uses you guys have use the internet for. Like you ask you a simple question and you just go blank. So you look at videos, you do music, pictures. Don't you do all of these things? Games.
Totally.
Now, the next question is, what services are provided with broadband? Do we get any service alongside broadband? other than the internet, connection to the internet, do we get any other service?
Sir, what about like cellular service, like GT&T and Digicel? Are you talking about like those guys, or
Yeah, that is an internet by itself. That's an internet connection by itself. So we're talking about when you sign up for broadband, do you get any other service other than connection to the internet? Do they give you any features? I'll give you a hint. eNetworks is one of the companies. When they and even GT&T, when you sign up for Blaze, don't you get another service?
Don't some of the Wi-Fi's come with like in TV channels?
Exactly. So um, GTT, DSL, and Fiber and Blaze as cable channels. So there's a special website that you can use to actually access these channels if you have GTT or Blaze. Anything else? There's one other service that GTT gives you with your Blaze. Don't they give you a landline connection through the Blaze?
I think so.
Yeah, they do. So um, that's gonna basically be voice over IP because you're getting the landline over the internet. Now, eNetworks is another broadband company that has cable over internet. So when they set up their internet connection, they actually can give their customers cable television at the same time that they're giving them internet connection. So those are some of the services that we get when we're using broadband. Um, what are some companies that provide broadband in Guyana? We got GT&T, we got eNetworks. Who else?
Skynet?
Skynet.
So you're talking about like internet service providers?
Yes, that's what the term broadband means.
Yeah, I know, but like it's so technical. I think Atlantic Wireless is one of them.
Yeah. But we have to be technical, don't we?
Unfortunately.
Atlantic Wireless, yes. What else? Ever heard of? Yeah, Shanti.
I was gonna ask if Digicel.
Yes. Digicel, good. Ever heard of iNet? There's a satellite internet connection provided to the interior areas. So those are forms of broadbands that we have today in Guyana. Now, what are some advantages of social media? What are some benefits of social media?
Communication from long distances.
Good. So you can tell me what you think is your advantage, what is your benefit? What else?
Access to a lot of resources.
And in that line, you could even say resources as in also being persons. Because with social media, you can actually get access to persons that are professionals in various areas. Like, for instance, is there a specific platform that you can use to get access to professionals?
Yeah.
Ever heard of LinkedIn?
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of them. Anything else? Any other benefits?
Like if you have a small business, you can promote it to a wide audience.
So promotion, good. All right. So what are some disadvantages of social media? Is there any disadvantage?
Could it be it requires your personal information?
I didn't hear the first part.
Could it be it requires your personal information and that can be misused?
So good. So misuse of personal information, good. Because you can upload your profile picture, upload all your family pictures, and then somebody could go and take them. Anything else?
Cyberbullying.
Good. Something that Arima goes through daily. Anything else?
Would it be like those like Instagram and so on? Would it disadvantage be like self-image issues? Like I don't know how to put it, but that way. Could it be like that?
Like it affects your character.
Yes, that.
So defamation of character. So when you go out and drink up and somebody take a picture of you drinking at the bar or you at a certain place and post you on the internet. Good. Anything else?
You can get a virus from accessing certain websites.
Good. Virus. Good. Now, what are the most used social medias today?
YouTube,
Twitter.
Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Discord,
TikTok.
Good. Um, do we have different social media platforms for adults and children?
Sir, I think I know YouTube has the option for children. I think.
Don't they have restrictions like if you're 18 and over?
Mm-hmm. Good. The YouTube has age restrictions. Anything else?
Sir, Netflix has an option for kids. Like you just have stuff with kids shows and stuff.
Let's see. And then you basically have like dating sites. Those are going to be for more adults instead of children. So there's some social platforms that are more for adults, and then you have those that children or the general world would make use of. Um, so what are some popular features of smartphones? What is the, you can phrase it this way, what is the best feature of the smartphone that you use the most?
The camera, maybe the camera quality and
Good.
so on.
So the camera for pictures and video. What else? What features make the the phone popular? If you think about it today, we don't buy a phone just because we can make phone call and do text message. We actually buy it for the features. So what features do you buy a phone for? Do you get a phone for? You also
Maybe the storage capacity.
get good storage capacity.
Maybe the user interface as well.
User interface. Yeah, Shanti.
No, I was gonna say user interface.
Okay.
And there's also that thing where older models where like when you're sliding in and out of apps, some of them stick up.
So basically a device that is much faster.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be what's that gonna be?
I don't know.
Faster CPU, memory, faster CPU and memory. What about larger screen? Isn't that a feature? Do you want a small screen on your phone?
Some people buy smaller phones.
Yeah. But would you want like compare it to like those older Nokia phones and Ericsson phones and so on? Would you want a screen that small?
Oh well, no.
No. So even though they want a smaller phone, they still want the display at least big enough so they can still use it. They actually just want the phone small so that they can fit it in their hands. Good. So that's some of the features we use our phones for. Good. So you guys saw the charts we did the other day about which is the most popular phone.
Yeah.
Let me see that. Let me see if anybody added it. Yeah, a few more persons added it. So, how many phones do you have? So majority has one phone. I'm pretty sure the rest they're just playing around. But the most popular phone brand is a Samsung, and then the second most popular is going to be Apple. Then four persons have a Google Pixel. Then there's OnePlus, two persons, and the other persons. This one here, a lot of persons have a variety of phones: 13 Pro Max, 8 Pro, AO10, AO2, AO3, A10, A11, A30. A lot of A series phones. There's another F series, J2. Two persons don't know what phone they have, they just own it. LG, Pixel 6a. This one got a S10, A21, and a S20. S21, iPhone 10, and AO3. S21 Ultra, S9, so on. What do they use the phone for? The highest is what? For the 7. So majority use it for communication. So that's going to be social media, right? So they're going to be WhatsApping, Instagramming, Snapchatting. Then they use it for entertainment, productivity, educational purposes, messaging, social media, web browsing, emailing, cameras, games. One person said they use it for business. One person said they hit them up. Cameras, trash, music, and storage. So those are some of the popular phones and their usage. What else? Alright, so I think we covered enough for today. So today we looked at the history of media, how we went from analog media to digital media. Then we looked at Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Then we looked at some terms when it comes to the evolution. Then we did the activity where we looked at different types of internet, benefits and disadvantages of social media, and so on. Next week we're gonna continue with what? Factors that affect the evolution, and then we're gonna wrap up that chapter there, that objective. Any questions before we close?
No, sir.
Alright, we're gonna close here for today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. Bye.